Hey there, friends! It's Sandra here from Huron Ridge, and thanks for joining me again today in the greenhouse. I have brought along with me today my collection of Amaryllis, which is getting a little more extensive every year, but just going to chat with you about what to do with your Amaryllis bulb now that it's done blooming. My guess is yours looks somewhat like this one, or maybe it looks like this one. So these were both new bulbs this year. This was one of those cool waxed Amaryllis that you just basically plunk on your counter, do absolutely nothing else with it, and it blooms beautifully. I actually had 4 different bloom stalks come out of this little bulb. I was amazed by that. I was expecting 1, maybe 2. The 3rd one surprised me, and the 4th one I was just like blown away. So I had 4 beautiful bloom stalks. They looked fantastic. And as each one died, I just snipped it off and waited to see what happened. But I'm quite confident now it's completely done blooming. You can see here the wax is getting quite loose on it and kind of pulling away from it. So I'm going to take care of this one in a minute, but first I'm just going to kind of go over the other Amaryllis I have here. This was a potted one. Obviously, it's still doing its thing, and it's clearly done blooming. Has been for a little while, and all I do once they're done blooming is just go right as close to the bulb as I can pretty much and just snip that off. There's no advantage to keeping this on your bulb. In fact, if anything, it's kind of draining the energy out of the bulb. And what you really want it to do is send out some new leaves to help feed the bulb. Which brings me to my next one. So this Amaryllis was actually kind of forgotten about. It bloomed last Christmas and ended up just staying in the greenhouse for the whole year. Nothing was done to it other than watering occasionally, and you can see all these beautiful green leaves. And actually, I just noticed today, if you look here in the pot, there's a new side bulb starting. It's kind of hard because it's flopping. There's a new little side bulb starting, so it's actually making another Amaryllis bulb. But because it was grown indoors all year and never put into dormancy, it didn't flower. And it won't flower again until it's put into dormancy. So it has grown beautiful leaves, and again, like I said, started to prop out a new bulb, but it's not going to bloom and give you those beautiful Amaryllis bulbs. So Amaryllis shoot up these beautiful blooms. This one here is just about ready to go after they've had a dormancy period of about 6 to 8 weeks. Minimum 6 weeks, can be longer. So what I did last year, these were actually my 2 Amaryllis from last Christmas. I bought them, grew them. I think either one of them or both of them were waxed. I can't remember. And then last year around this time, I potted them up and got them ready to grow. And what they'll do after they're done blooming is they're just going to keep producing leaves like this one did. And I grew it as a houseplant all winter, and then last summer around, well, after there was no worry of frost anymore, so probably the first week of June, I just tucked them in a flower bed close to my house. I have outdoor irrigation, so I didn't have to worry about them getting watered. I'm kind of spoiled that way. But you could keep it in your house, or you can put it outside and just let it do its thing. All it's going to do is grow green leaves, which is perfect, because those green leaves are what help feed the bulb and help it to be a healthy plant that will be able to bloom again. But like I said, it's not going to bloom if you just do that. So right around Labor Day, the 1st of September, what you need to do is just give your bulb a drink of water and tuck it away somewhere dark and cool. So ideally a cold storage, a basement, somewhere where it's not going to get hardly any light and be a little bit on the cooler side, because it needs to have like a false dormancy period essentially. And you, like I said, need to leave it in your basement for at least 6 weeks, but you can do it longer. So because I knew I was going to get a new Amaryllis this year, I left mine in the basement for longer because I knew this was going to flower at Christmas, and I wanted this to be more of a wintertime thing. Now, I did wait a little longer than I should have because it's going to take 6 to 8 weeks from the time you pull it out of dormancy to flower. I was a little busy in December, had a daughter get married, had lots of big festivities at my house, so I kind of got forgotten about till I think January it started. I remembered it, grabbed it out of the basement, and put it on the kitchen counter. It took a while. Like it took probably a good 2 weeks almost to feel like there was any life there. This one I just took out 2 weeks ago, and you can see now it's just starting to send up its first green leaves. So like I said, I took this one out right around the New Year. Took a couple weeks to get to this point, but now a month later, wow, it's awesome. It's ready to bloom. I for sure am going to have 2 different flower stalks here, as you can see. I don't know, maybe there'll be more. I kind of timed it that way because I wanted this one to be, like I said, January, February. This one's going to flower more like March. I had my beautiful ones at Christmas, so I can kind of stagger it just based on when I take it out of that cold, dormant area where it's been stored. Couple things to note. When you put it into your dormant area to store it in September, so Labor Day, you need to give it a drink, and then just essentially forget about it. Don't worry about cutting off the green leaves, just leave it there. When you go to pull it out later, 6 to 8 weeks later, these are going to be all shriveled and nasty looking, and I just cut them off. No big deal. They may actually even fall off on their own, depending. Because I kept these in the basement longer, I think, well, I put them in September, and this one I just took out 2 weeks ago, so that's what, 4 or 5 months. The soil was like petrified. It was so dry. So I did give it a little bit of water just to kind of rehydrate that soil. But I'm not going to actively water it till it starts to grow, and then I'm going to water it kind of on the same schedule as my other houseplants, about once a week. So not a ton of water. The other thing I do want to mention, when you pick a pot to plant your amaryllis up into, make sure it has drainage, especially if you're planning to put it outside, because you don't want it to get waterlogged. That's definitely an important step. So back to my waxed amaryllis, and what I'm going to do with it, all I'm going to really do, I've got some scissors here to help me out, but I'm just going to peel this wax off. Pretty easy. The bulb really does shrivel after it sends up all those shoots. Okay, and there's prongs holding that holder in there. And then there's kind of like, it looks like a balloon actually. Just gonna pull that off. Yeah, and this is thyme. This one probably should have come out of here a little while ago. It looks like it's a little bit rotted, but I think it's still hard. It's not too squishy. If it was really soft and squishy, it would probably be a lost cause. I see some active roots there, so that's a really good sign. And I'm just gonna plant this into at least a 6-inch pot, just using some good quality potting soil, nothing fancy. And I'm just gonna fill my pot most of the way. Now, like these ones are, your amaryllis bulb, you don't wanna bury it. You wanna leave the top bit out. So I'm gonna pretty much fill the pot and then make a divot here to stick my bulb into and just kind of fill around there. Now I am, like I said, going to treat this like a houseplant, so it's going to get on my regular watering schedule. Again, won't fertilize it, just like I don't fertilize my houseplants this time of year until the spring when it starts to more actively grow. I don't generally fertilize my houseplants before at least probably the end of March, more into April. I start fertilizing my houseplants again because they really don't need that fertilizer this time of year. And that's pretty much it. So that's going to be my amaryllis collection keeps growing. I keep having lots of new little amaryllis. So by next year, I should have a whole wonderful little collection to have inside my house. If you have any questions about amaryllis, please hit me up in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And if you have any other video questions you'd like answered, just drop me a note. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.